Commander Zethkar floated in his control chamber aboard the massive ship called Eternal Serenity. His long purple tentacles moved slowly through the thick blue liquid that filled his tank. The liquid helped him think better and kept his mind connected to the ship's computers. He was a Vorthak, one of the three great races that ruled the galaxy. For 10,000 years, the galaxy had been quiet. No wars, no fighting, no chaos. The Zenith Collective had made sure of that. Zethkar remembered the old stories his elders told him about the bad times before the Great Silencing. Back then, many different species lived in the galaxy. They fought each other all the time. They made noise. They caused problems. They could not be controlled. But that was ancient history now. The Collective had fixed everything. They had removed all the troublesome species from the galaxy. The ones that would not follow orders. The ones that thought too much for themselves. The ones that laughed too loud or cried too much or acted in ways that made no sense. Now only the civilized species remained. The Vorthak with their great minds that could speak without words. The Luminari who were made of pure energy and lived forever. The Nexari who had replaced their weak bodies with perfect machines. Together, they kept perfect order across millions of worlds. Zethkar's tentacles twitched as a message came into his mind from the ship's communication officer. The message made him feel confused and a little worried. "Commander," the voice said inside his head, "we have received strange reports from the Outer Rim territories." "What kind of reports?" Zethkar asked without moving his mouth. His thoughts traveled directly to the other Vorthak on his ship. "3 survey fleets have gone missing near the Sol system, Commander. The system was marked as completely sterilized during the Great Silencing. Nothing should be alive there." Zethkar's purple skin grew darker. This was very strange news. The Birsi. Records showed that Sol had been home to a species called humans. The humans had been loud and messy and unpredictable. They made art and music and told jokes. They fought wars but also helped their enemies when the fighting stopped. They were exactly the kind of chaos that the Collective could not allow. The cleansing ships had visited Sol over 10,000 years ago. They had done their job well, just like they did on thousands of other worlds. The system should be empty space and dead rocks, nothing more. "Send me the full reports," Zethkar commanded. The information flowed into his mind like water. 3 different survey fleets had approached the Sol system over the past few months. Each fleet contained 12 ships. All were equipped with the best sensors and weapons the Collective could build. Each fleet had sent the same message before they disappeared. Detecting impossible energy signatures. Investigating. Will report back soon. None of them ever reported back. Zethkar called his senior officers to the main bridge. The bridge was a huge round room filled with screens and control panels. Officers from all 3 collective species worked together in perfect harmony. Vorthak floated in their thinking tanks. Luminari glowed as balls of golden light above special platforms. Nexari stood at control stations, their metal bodies moving with precise motions. "We will investigate the Sol system," Zethkar announced. His words appeared on screens so the non-telepathic species could understand. "Something is wrong there. We must find out what happened to our missing fleets." Captain Vorthes, a Luminari, who shined bright blue, pulsed with concern. "Commander, the records are very clear. Sol was completely sterilized. The human species was eliminated along with all their technology and culture. There is nothing there but empty space." "Then explain the missing ships," Zethkar replied. The Nexari Tactical Officer Unit 7742 turned its metal head toward the commander. Its voice was flat and emotionless like all Nexari voices. "Perhaps the ships suffered mechanical failures. Space is large. Finding their wreckage may be impossible. 3 separate fleets, all with the same mechanical failure, in the same system." Zethkar's tentacles moved faster through his liquid. "No, something else is happening." The Eternal Serenity was the pride of the collective fleet. It was 5 miles long and carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Its crew of 50,000 represented the best minds from all 3 species. Its sensors could detect a single grain of sand from 1,000,000 miles away. If anything lived in the Sol system, they would find it. The journey to Sol took 3 days. During that time, Zethkar studied everything the collective knew about humans. The files were old but detailed. Humans had been strange creatures. They lived short lives but somehow accomplished amazing things. They were weak compared to other species, but refused to give up even when defeat was certain. They made tools and art and music. They told stories and jokes. They cried when they were sad and laughed when they were happy. Most puzzling of all, they sometimes laughed when they should have been scared. The collective had studied human behavior for years. Before the Great Silencing, they could never understand how humans thought. Human actions seemed random and chaotic. Humans would help their enemies one day and fight them the next. They would sacrifice their lives for strangers, but also fight wars over small pieces of land. The collective had decided that humans were too unpredictable to exist in an ordered galaxy. Like hundreds of other chaotic species, they had to be removed. But now something was sending signals from their dead system. Something had destroyed 3 collective fleets, and Zethkar was going to find out what it was. As the eternal serenity dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system, alarms began ringing all over the ship. The sensors had found something impossible. The Sol system was not empty. It was full of life. The screens on the bridge of the eternal serenity showed something that should not exist. Where the dead Sol system should have been empty space, there were cities. Huge space stations orbited around planets. Ships moved between the worlds like busy insects. Energy readings showed millions of life forms. Commander Zethkar's tentacles turned almost white with shock. His mind reached out to touch the sensors again and again, hoping they were broken. But the readings stayed the same. The Sol system was very much alive. "This is impossible," whispered Captain Vorthas. The luminary's light flickered between blue and red as fear and confusion fought in its energy form. The records show complete sterilization. Nothing should have survived. Unit 7742 moved its metal fingers across the control panels. Its voice stayed flat and calm, even though the news was shocking. "I am reading human life signs, Commander. Billions of them. They appear to be living on Earth, Mars, and 17 other locations throughout the system." Zethkar felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Fear. The collective had spent 10,000 years believing that all chaotic species were gone. The galaxy was safe. Order was complete. But here was proof that they had failed. At least one chaotic species had survived and grown strong again. "How many ships do they have?" Zethkar asked. "Scanning now," Unit 7742 replied. Its metal head turned as it processed the information. "I count approximately 50,000 vessels, of various sizes. Their technology appears primitive compared to ours, but they are definitely space-capable. 50,000 ships. That was more than some collective worlds had. And these were humans. The same species that had once made the collective's greatest. Minds confused and angry with their unpredictable behavior. "Commander," another voice said in Zethkar's mind. It was Subcommander Keltar from the communications station. "We are receiving a transmission from the human ships. They appear to be attempting to communicate with us." "Put it on the main screen," Zethkar ordered. The image that appeared made every being on the bridge stop what they were doing. A human face looked out at them from the screen. It was a female, with short brown hair and bright green eyes. She wore some kind of military uniform, but it was covered with small patches and symbols that seemed to serve no practical purpose. Most shocking of all, she was smiling. "Hello there," the human said in a cheerful voice. "This is Captain Sarah, Chen of the Terran Defense Force. Welcome to the Sol system. I have to say, you folks sure know how to make an entrance. That's quite a ship you've got there." Zethkar's tentacles froze. The human was talking to them like they were old friends, meeting for lunch. There was no fear in her voice, no panic, no begging for mercy. She acted like 50,000 human ships could somehow stand against the might of the collective. "I am Commander Zethkar of the Zenith Collective," he replied, his words appearing as text on the human screen. "This system was marked for sterilization 10,000 years ago. Your species should not exist." Captain Chen's smile grew wider. She actually laughed. The sound was light and musical, Nothing like the serious communications the collective was used to. Well, that explains why we never got a Christmas card from you guys. 10,000 years is a long time to hold a grudge, don't you think? Several officers on the bridge looked at each other in confusion. What was a Christmas card? Why was the human making jokes when faced with a ship that could destroy her entire world? You do not understand, Zethkar continued. The collective removed your species because humans were deemed incompatible with galactic order. You caused chaos wherever you went. You could not be controlled or predicted. Oh, we're still pretty chaotic, Captain Chen agreed, still smiling. Just last week, Johnson from engineering tried to make pizza in the antimatter reactor. Don't worry, we stopped him before he accidentally invented a new type of explosion. Though I have to admit it did smell really good for a minute there. Captain Vorthas pulsed with confusion. Commander, I do not understand this human's behavior. We represent overwhelming force. We could destroy their entire civilization. Why is she not afraid? Unit 7742 added its own analysis. Human behavior patterns do not match any known responses to superior military force. They appear to be treating this first contact as some form of entertainment. On the screen, Captain Chen seemed to hear their comments. Entertainment? Oh, you bet this is entertaining. Do you know how long it's been since we had visitors? We've been wondering when someone would show up again. The betting pools had the smart money on you arriving sometime next century, but I guess we all owe Jenkins $20. She paused and looked at something off screen. Speaking of which, Admiral Martinez wants to know if you'd like to come down for dinner. We're having barbecue tonight, and Mom always said to never let guests go hungry. Fair warning, though. Uncle Bob will probably want to show you his stamp collection. He's been working on it for 40 years, and he gets really excited about it. Zethkar felt his mind struggling to process what he was hearing. This human was inviting them to dinner. She was talking about stamp collections and betting pools and someone named Uncle Bob. She was treating the return of the collective like a family reunion instead of the end of her world. You do not comprehend the situation, Zethkar said, trying to regain control of the conversation. The collective has returned to finish what we started 10,000 years ago. Your species will be removed from the galaxy. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Captain Chen's expression changed, but not to fear. Instead, she looked disappointed, like a teacher whose student had given the wrong answer to an easy question. You know what? That's really not very nice, she said. Here we are trying to be good hosts, and you're talking about killing us all. That's just rude. She shook her head sadly. I think you folks have been alone in space too long. You've forgotten your manners. She looked directly into the camera. Tell you what, we'll give you some time to think about this. Maybe chat with your friends and see if you can come up with better conversation topics. When you're ready to be polite, give us a call. But next time, try starting with hello instead of surrender or die. It works much better at parties. The transmission ended. The bridge of the eternal serenity fell silent. Zethkar stared at the blank screen, his tentacles moving slowly through his tank. In all his centuries of life, in all the collective's 10,000 years of perfect order, nothing had prepared him for this. The humans were not afraid. They were amused. Commander Zethkar had never felt so angry in his long life. 3 days had passed since the humans had laughed at the mighty collective. 3 days of reports flooding in from across the galaxy as news of the humans spread. 3 days of emergency, meetings with the High Council. The other species in the galaxy were asking questions. Dangerous questions. If humans could survive the Great Silencing, what other species might still be alive? If humans could laugh at the collective, why should anyone else be afraid? Zethkar floated in his tank aboard the command ship as 2 more collective fleets arrived in Sol system. The 2nd and 3rd battle groups had brought another 200 ships. Together they represented enough firepower to crack a planet in half. Surely now the humans would understand their situation. All ships report ready for battle, Commander, Unit 7742 announced from its station. We have them completely surrounded. They cannot escape. Captain Vorthas pulsed a worried orange color. Commander, I am detecting unusual activity from the human communication networks. They appear to be broadcasting something across their entire system. Put it on screen, Zethkar ordered. What appeared on the main display made every officer on the bridge question their understanding of intelligent behavior. The humans were broadcasting what appeared to be some kind of entertainment program. A human male with gray hair sat behind a desk, talking to the camera with a big smile on his face. Good evening, folks, and welcome to Sol System Tonight with your host, Dave Richardson. Tonight's top story. Aliens have returned to our solar system after 10,000 years, and boy, are they grumpy about something. The human called Dave looked at papers on his desk. According to our sources, the aliens are something called the Zenith Collective, and they're here to finish sterilizing our system. Now, I don't know about you, but when I think of sterilization, I think of my grandmother's kitchen, not spaceships with big scary weapons. Laughter came from somewhere off camera. Other humans were watching this broadcast and finding it funny. Our military experts tell us we're completely outgunned and surrounded. The alien ships are bigger, faster, and more advanced than anything we have. So naturally, we've decided to start a betting pool on how this whole thing turns out. More laughter from the audience. Current odds are 3-1 that Captain Chen makes them cry by offering them cookies, 5-1 that they run away when Uncle Bob starts talking about his stamp collection, and 10-1 that this whole thing was just a big misunderstanding, and they're actually here to ask for directions. Zethkar's tentacles twisted in confusion. The humans were about to face the most powerful military force in the galaxy, and they were making jokes about it. They were treating it like entertainment. Sir, Sub-Commander Keltar spoke into his mind. I am detecting thousands of these broadcasts across the human networks. They appear to be having viewing parties. Some are taking bets on which human ship will score the first hit. Others are betting on which alien ship will be the first to surrender. Surrender? Zethkar could barely form the thought. They think our ships will surrender to them? On the screen, Dave Richardson continued his program. In other news, the Mars Colony Pizza Company has announced they're prepared to deliver to alien ships, quote, as long as they tip well and don't vaporize the delivery guy. When asked about the risks, delivery pilot Jenny Wu said, hey, if they've been flying around space for 10,000 years without pizza, they probably need it more than we do. Captain Vorthes flickered between colors rapidly. Commander, this behavior makes no logical sense. Are we certain these are the same humans from our historical records? Perhaps this is a different species that simply looks similar. The genetic scans confirm it, Unit 7742 replied. These are definitely humans, but their behavior patterns do not match any known responses to overwhelming military threat. Zethkar had heard enough. He opened a communication channel to all collective ships. All vessels, prepare to demonstrate our power. Target the largest, human space station. We will show them what happens when the collective is not taken seriously. Yes, Commander, came the replies from dozens of ship captains. But before they could fire, another transmission came from the humans. This time it was Captain Chen again, but she was not alone. Behind her stood dozens of other humans in military uniforms. They were all smiling. Hello again, Captain Chen said cheerfully. We noticed you brought some friends. The more the merrier, I always say. Admiral Martinez wanted me to let you know we've upgraded our dinner invitation. We're having a full barbecue festival now. Games, music, the works, even alien-friendly food if you have special dietary needs. She paused and looked at something off-screen. Oh, and Jenkins wanted me to pass along a message. He says thanks for proving him right about the timing. Apparently he's using his winnings to buy a new fishing boat. He's naming it the Lucky, guess in your honor. One of the humans behind her stepped forward. He was an older man with white hair and many small metal pieces on his uniform. I'm Admiral Martinez, he said. Captain Chen is being polite, but I'm going to be direct. We know you think you have us outgunned. You've got bigger ships and fancier weapons. But you made one big mistake. What mistake? Zethkar found himself asking even though he had not planned to respond. Admiral Martinez's smile grew wider. You forgot that we're humans. We've spent 10,000 years with nobody to fight but ourselves. Do you have any idea how good we've gotten at fighting? Behind him, the other humans started laughing. Not nervous laughter, but the sound of people who knew a secret that nobody else understood. You see, the Admiral continued, While you were flying around the galaxy being all serious and orderly, we were down here being our usual chaotic selves. We fought wars, made peace, fought more wars, made better peace. We invented new ways to blow things up and new ways to put them back together. We learned things you can't learn from books or computers. He leaned closer to the camera. We learned how to have fun while the universe tries to kill us. And buddy, that makes us very dangerous. Captain Chen stepped back into view. Last chance for barbecue, she said sweetly. After that, we'll have to settle this the old-fashioned way. And fair warning, we fight dirty, we fight weird, and we fight with style. Hope you brought your sense of humor because you're going to need it. The transmission ended. Zethkar stared at the blank screen. Around him, his officers waited for orders. 300 collective ships hung in space, weapons charged and ready. Below them, 50,000 human ships waited with what appeared to be complete confidence. For the first time in 10,000 years, the collective was about to face an enemy that was not afraid of them. The war was about to begin. The first battle began at exactly noon, Earth time. Zethkar gave the order to attack, expecting the humans to panic and scatter like every other species had done for the past 10,000 years. Instead, something impossible happened. The humans attacked first. Incoming missiles, Unit 7742 announced in its flat voice. Multiple contacts from all directions. They appear to be singing. Singing? Captain Vorthes pulsed confused colors. Weapons do not sing. But the sensors were right. As the human missiles flew toward the collective ships, they broadcast music. Not war songs or battle hymns, but something cheerful and bouncy. The computers translated the words onto the screens. We're coming to get you, tra-la-la. We're coming to get you, tra-la-la. Better run away, or you will pay. Tra-la-la-la-la, Commander. Zethkar felt his mind struggle to understand what was happening. The humans were sending singing missiles. Who sent singing missiles into battle? Defensive systems engaged. Unit 7742 reported. Shooting down incoming missiles. Most of the human weapons were destroyed before they reached the collective ships. But 3 missiles got through and hit the dreadnought Eternal Order. Instead of exploding, they released clouds of pink glitter that stuck to the ship's hull. Damage report, Zethkar demanded. No actual damage, Commander. The missiles contained decorative particles. They appear to have painted amusing pictures on our hull. On the main screen, an image of the Eternal Order appeared. Where the missiles had hit, bright pink glitter formed pictures of smiling faces and hearts. The most powerful ship in the collective fleet now looked like a child's art project. Across the communication channels, human voices could be heard cheering and laughing. Direct hit on the big scary one, someone shouted. Did you see those faces? That's going straight into the history books. Zethkar's tentacles turned dark purple with rage. Return fire. All weapons. The collective ships unleashed their power. Beams of pure energy lanced out toward the human fleet. Each beam carried enough force to slice a battleship in half. But when the beams reached where the human ships had been, they found empty space. The humans were gone. Where did they go? Zethkar demanded. Scanning, Unit 7742 replied. I am detecting the human ships. Behind us? Somehow, while the collective ships were firing forward, the entire human fleet had moved to attack from behind. It should have been impossible. Ships could not move that fast without being detected. How did they do that? Captain Vorthes asked. The answer came in the form of another human transmission. Captain Chen appeared on screen again, but this time she was wearing a bright red costume with a cape and a mask over her eyes. Surprise, she said, making jazz hands at the camera. Magic space tricks. We learned them from watching really old movies about something called superheroes. Turns out if you believe hard enough and make swooshing sound effects, physics gets confused and lets you do impossible things. Behind her, other humans were also wearing colorful costumes. One had a cape covered in stars. Another wore what appeared to be armor made from kitchen pots. They all looked ridiculous, but their ships had just performed a maneuver that broke several laws of space combat. The secret ingredient is style points, Captain Chen continued. You folks fight like accountants, all serious and mathematical. We fight like we're putting on a show. And the universe loves a good show. Before Zethkar could respond, the human ships attacked again. But this time they did not use weapons. Instead, they flew in complex patterns around the collective fleet, trailing streams of colored smoke behind them. The smoke formed words in the space between the ships. "Smile. You're on candid camera." "This is not warfare," Captain Vorthas said, her light flickering rapidly. "This is some form of performance art." "It is working, though," Unit 7742 added. "Our targeting computers cannot lock onto vessels moving in such unpredictable patterns. Their flight paths make no tactical sense." Zethkar watched in growing horror as human ships danced around his fleet like insects around a light. Every time his ships tried to fire, the humans were somewhere else, leaving behind clouds of glitter or silly messages or, in one case, what appeared to be thousands of rubber ducks. "Sir," Subcommander Keltar spoke into his mind. "The crew is reporting unusual behavior among our personnel." "What kind of unusual behavior?" "Some of our officers are laughing, Commander. The humans broadcast comedy programs directly into our ships during their attacks. Several Vorthak have been making jokes. 2 Nexari units started telling funny stories about their maintenance schedules. This was getting worse by the minute. Not only were the humans impossible to fight, they were somehow infecting his crew with their chaotic behavior." "Block all human transmissions," Zethkar ordered. "Unable to comply, Commander. They are broadcasting on frequencies that our equipment cannot filter. They appear to be using laughter as a carrier wave." On the tactical display, the human fleet regrouped for another attack. But this time, something different happened. The largest human ship, which sensors identified as their flagship, approached the collective fleet alone. It moved slowly, broadcasting a message on all frequencies. "Attention, collective fleet," came Admiral Martinez's voice. "We're prepared to accept your surrender. You fought bravely, but frankly, you're just not very good at this. Your heart isn't in it." Zethkar could barely believe what he was hearing. "They want us to surrender? We have 300 ships. They have 50,000 smaller vessels." "Actually," Admiral Martinez continued, "we'd like to invite your commander to come aboard our ship for negotiations. Captain Chen has prepared her famous chocolate chip cookies, and our diplomatic team includes a professional comedian, a jazz musician, and Bob from accounting who does magic tricks." The transmission paused. Then Admiral Martinez spoke again, and this time his voice was serious but kind. "Look, we know you're scared. You've been flying around space for 10,000 years, keeping everything neat and tidy, and suddenly here, we are messing up your perfect order. But here's the thing about humans, we don't want to destroy you. We just want you to remember how to laugh." On the screen, the image changed to show the interior of the human flagship. Hundreds of humans sat at tables sharing food and talking. Some were playing music. Others were telling stories. Children ran between the tables, laughing as adults chased them in some kind of game. "This is what we've been doing for the past 10,000 years, Admiral Martinez said. "Living, not just existing, but really living. And we think you folks might have forgotten how to do that." Commander Zethkar stared at the screen. In 10,000 years of perfect order, he had never seen anything like what the humans were showing him. Pure joy, pure life, and for the first time in centuries he found himself wanting to know what that felt like. Commander Zethkar floated in his tank, staring at the invitation from the humans. Around him his bridge crew waited for orders. Some of the Vorthak were making quiet jokes to each other. 2 Nexari units had started humming one of the human songs. Even Captain Vorthas was pulsing in rhythm with the music still coming from the human ships. The infection was spreading. "Commander," Subcommander Keltar spoke into his mind. "We are receiving reports from across the galaxy. Other species are watching our battle with the humans. They are asking questions about the Great Silencing. Some are even laughing at the human broadcasts." Zethkar's tentacles went cold. This was exactly what the collective had feared for 10,000 years. If the other species remembered how to laugh, how to be chaotic, how to think for themselves, then the perfect order would collapse. "Sir," Unit 7742 added, "I am also detecting unusual activity in the collective capital system. Several worlds are reporting unauthorized celebrations. Citizens are gathering in public spaces to watch the human comedy broadcasts." The situation was spinning out of control. The humans had not just survived the Great Silencing. They had turned their survival into a weapon that could destroy everything the collective had built. Zethkar made his decision. "Prepare my shuttle," he ordered. "I will go to the human flagship." "Commander, that could be dangerous," Captain Vorthes warned, her light flickering with concern. "More dangerous than letting this chaos spread across the galaxy?" Zethkar replied, "I need to understand what these humans really want." An hour later, Zethkar's shuttle docked with the human flagship. He had expected to be met by guards or soldiers. Instead, a young human female in a colorful uniform greeted him with a big smile. "Welcome aboard the Laughter's Echo," she said, cheerfully. "I'm Lieutenant Rodriguez, your tour guide for today. Admiral Martinez is waiting for you in the main conference room, but Captain Chen insisted we stop by the kitchen first. She says nobody should negotiate on an empty stomach." Zethkar followed the lieutenant through corridors filled with things he had never seen before. Humans worked at their stations, but they also talked and joked with each other. Art covered the walls. Music played softly in the background. Children ran through the halls playing games that made no logical sense but filled the ship with laughter. "How do you get anything done?" Zethkar asked. Lieutenant Rodriguez looked confused. "What do you mean? All this noise, all this chaos. How do your people focus on their duties?" "Oh, this helps us focus," she replied. "When people are happy, they work better. When they're having fun, they try harder. When they laugh together, they trust each other. Haven't you ever noticed that?" Zethkar had not noticed that. The collective had always believed that order and discipline were the only ways to achieve efficiency. But looking around the human ship, he could see that their chaotic methods somehow produced excellent results. They arrived at the kitchen, where Captain Chen was waiting with a plate of small brown objects that smelled wonderful. "Commander Zethkar," she said warmly, "I'm so glad you decided to visit. These are chocolate chip cookies. They're absolutely terrible for you and completely delicious. The recipe has been in my family for 300 years. Zethkar had never eaten human food before. His species absorbed nutrients through their skin from the liquid in their tanks. But something about Captain Chen's smile made him want to try. He took one of the cookies with his tentacle and tasted it. The flavor exploded in his mind. Sweet, and rich and complex in ways that his normal food never was. But more than that, he could somehow taste the care that had gone into making it. The love of the human who had created something beautiful just to share with others. "This is remarkable," he said quietly. "Wait until you try Uncle Bob's barbecue." Captain Chen laughed. "But come on, the Admiral is waiting." They found Admiral Martinez in a room filled with humans of all ages. Some wore military uniforms, others civilian clothes. There were musicians and artists and engineers and teachers. At the head of the table sat an elderly human man with twinkling eyes. "Commander Zethkar," Admiral Martinez said, standing to greet him. "Thank you for coming. This is our full diplomatic team. We believe in democracy, so everyone gets a say in important decisions." "Even the children?" Zethkar asked, noticing several young humans at the table. "Especially the children," replied the elderly man. "I'm Dr. Wilson, by the way. I study old things. The children see the future more clearly than the rest of us. They ask the best questions." A small human girl, perhaps 7 years old, raised her hand. "Mr. Alien Commander, why did you try to kill all the humans a long time ago?" The directness of the question caught Zethkar off guard. Because humans caused chaos. The galaxy was safer without chaos." "But chaos is fun," the girl said seriously. "Without chaos you can't have surprises. Without surprises you can't have joy. Without joy, what's the point of being alive?" Admiral Martinez smiled. "Commander, for 10,000 years your collective has focused on survival and order. You've created a galaxy where nothing bad happens, but nothing wonderful happens either. You've eliminated war, but you've also eliminated laughter. You've removed danger, but you've also removed discovery." Dr. Wilson leaned forward. "We humans learned something important during our isolation. Perfect safety means perfect boredom. Perfect order means perfect emptiness. Life isn't about avoiding death. Life is about finding reasons to live." But the chaos, Zethkar protested. The unpredictability. How do you control it? Captain Chen laughed. We don't control it, Commander. We dance with it. We ride it like a wave. We turn it into art and music and stories. We let it surprise us and teach us and make us grow. Around the table, other humans nodded. A musician played a soft melody on a strange instrument. An artist sketched pictures of the meeting. A poet composed verses about the conversation. They were turning this moment into something beautiful, just because they could. What do you want? From us? Zethkar asked finally. We want you to remember how to laugh, Admiral Martinez said simply. We want you to rediscover joy. We want you to stop being afraid of chaos and start celebrating it. He gestured to the stars visible through the conference room window. The galaxy is big enough for order and chaos to exist together. In fact, it's better when they do. Order gives us stability. Chaos gives us growth. Together they give us life. Zethkar felt something happening inside his mind. The rigid patterns of thought that had guided him for centuries were shifting. The perfect order that had seemed so important was starting to feel empty and cold. How do we begin? He asked quietly. Captain Chen's smile lit up the room. With a joke, Commander. Uncle Bob, tell him the one about the three-legged alien who walked into a bar. As the elderly human began his story, Zethkar felt his tentacles relaxing. The first laugh was small and hesitant. The second was stronger. By the third joke, he was laughing so hard that his tank's liquid sloshed around him. And across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, other beings heard that laughter broadcast on every frequency. They remembered what it felt like to smile. They remembered what it meant to be alive. The great silencing was over. The age of laughter had begun. Years later, visitors to the Sol system would find a strange sight. The massive collective dreadnought Eternal Serenity had been converted into the galaxy's first comedy club. Every night, beings from hundreds of species would gather to share jokes and stories and songs. And at the center of it all, in a specially designed tank that let him interact with other species, Commander Zethkar would tell the story of how humanity saved the galaxy not with weapons or technology, but with the simple act of refusing to stop laughing. The universe, it turned out, had always been waiting for someone to get the joke.